So in the background, we'll start by talking about the what GAPE stands for. So it stands for the Global Action Plan for Pneumonia and Diarrhea. So that's what GAPE stands for. We know that pneumonia contributes about 15% of under 5 mortality globally, whilst diarrhea contributes 11% of under 5 mortality globally. And neonatal deaths is the major contributor of under 5 mortality with 35%, if we are to exclude neonatal deaths from pneumonia and diarrhea. So other causes of neonatal deaths apart from pneumonia and diarrhea contributes 35%, but if we include pneumonia and diarrhea in the neonatal deaths, we get up to 40%. So neonatal deaths is number 1, followed by pneumonia, and then number 3 is diarrhea. So the Global Action Plan for Pneumonia and Diarrhea is to address this pneumonia and diarrhea, which are two of the top 3 causes of under 5 mortality. So the strategy for achieving progress towards Sustainable Development Goal 3.2 by the year 2030. Just sorry, forgive me for this. This is 2030. So we want to end preventable deaths of newborns and children under 5 years of age, with all countries aiming to number one is to reduce neonatal mortality to 12 per 1,000 or lower, and also to reduce under 5 mortality to as low as 25 per 1,000 live births or lower. So the strategy is to tackle the diseases such as diarrhea, pneumonia and malaria, which are still amongst the leading killers of children under 5. Okay, so we know that diarrhea is a dangerous condition, and the immediate complications from diarrhea include dehydration. Then we have loss of potassium leading to hypokalemia. Then we have loss of sodium leading to hyponatremia, and we have loss of carbonate, loss of bicarbonate. Bicarb is lost, leading to metabolic acidosis. This is a non-iron gap that we get in non-iron gap acidosis that we get in diarrhea, and you can also get hemolytic uremic syndrome, where you get a triad of anemia, thrombocytopenia, and hemolysis and renal failure. Then you will be having bloody stool. It can occur with as a complication to diarrhea. Then long-term complications include susceptibility to infection. So when you lose these things, you also lose one of the nutrients that micronutrients that you lose is zinc, and zinc is known to prevent the body from infection. So when you lose zinc, you get susceptible to infections. Then malnutrition. So when the baby is having diarrhea, they can be prone to malabsorption with increased time, and sometimes the brush border enzymes are lost, and that impairs their absorption, and it usually triggers malnutrition. Then you can get persistent diarrhea. This is defined as diarrhea from an underlying infection which persists for more than 14 days. So if it's underlying infection and it goes for more than 14 days, that becomes persistent diarrhea. Then we have lactose and glucose intolerance. Like we said, that brush border enzymes can be washed away, so the lactase, which is supposed to break down the lactose for absorption, can be absent, and this will make the absorption of the carbohydrates difficult, and this will lead to accumulation of carbohydrates in the gut, and it will further increase the diarrhea. So it will worsen the diarrhea because of osmotic effect of the carbohydrates in the GIT. So this will lead to an osmotic diarrhea. So you actually see that some patients, when they end up with persistent diarrhea, they may need to be put on lactose-free milk to try and reduce the effects of osmotic diarrhea that with feeding lactose. Then pneumonia complications include pneumothorax. You can get a pleural effusion. Then you have a syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion. This will lead to retention of fluids, and eventually there will be low sodium concentration, hyponatremia. So there will be hyponatremia from syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion. And this hyponatremia, if the patient is given IV fluids, can actually lead to pulmonary edema. So patients that have severe pneumonia need to be treated with care. If you are going to give IV fluids, you have to at least aim to give 2/3 of maintenance of IV fluids, because of the risk of cerebral of pulmonary edema from this hyponatremia. And if you are sometimes you find that patients with severe pneumonia, they actually have problems with oropharyngeal coordination, and they can actually aspirate. So sometimes they are not supposed to be fed, and you can't put an NG tube because it compromises the airway. So the only way maybe is to give parenteral fluids, and you have to be careful not to overhydrate these patients because of the risk of hyponatremia. Then hypoxemia can occur with pneumonia, and as well as dehydration. This is because of hyperventilation. As the patient hyperventilates, they lose the instance of losses become more than what they would lose if they were breathing normally. So hyperventilation here is the reason why you can get dehydration. Then we also go on to shock. So the patients get also prone to developing shock, which is defined as systemic inflammatory response syndrome plus an infection. So if this patient develops systemic inflammatory response syndrome plus the underlying pneumonia, then they develop sepsis. Then the light complications, pneumonia can be non-resolving, so it can persist even after treatment for 10 days. You can still have radiological findings on a chest X-ray after 2 weeks. So 2 weeks, if they have 50% of the radiological changes still present, it's defined as non-resolving. Or after 1 month, if 100%, if it isn't resolved completely on X-ray, we still call that non-resolving pneumonia. This definition of non-resolving is only when the patient has been given adequate antibiotics, so for at least 10 days, and the patient has also had tests for TB, sputum for TB twice, which are negative, but they still remain with these. Then patients can also get ventilation with severe pneumonia. So these are severe complications, and the worst complications for both pneumonia and diarrhea is death. So this is the GAPT. Now we're talking about the GAPT approach, the protect, prevent, and treat, the global action plan for pneumonia and diarrhea. Okay, so the protect, we say to protect, we need to protect children by establishing good health practices from birth. So what are these practices? We mean exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months. So exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months is known to reduce both the incidence of diarrhea and pneumonia. And this is because if you are breastfeeding the baby, you're supposed to bottle feeding. Bottle feeding, if there's poor hygiene, the bottles can predispose to diarrhea. And breastfeeding also increases immunity, because the breast milk contains antibodies from the mother, which especially the secretory IgA, which actually protects the baby from infection. And also you find that on number 2 we have adequate complementary feeding. So complementary feeding, this is from 6 months. When we talk about the word complementary feeding, we're talking about 6 months going onwards. Okay, so when you need adequate complementary feeding to avoid malnutrition and to avoid micronutrient deficiencies, because we know that our micronutrients are essential for function of the body. We need adequate iron for growth and for the immune system, the processes that the body uses to destroy bacteria. They need adequate micronutrients. We need zinc for epithelial surface maintenance. So it's important that our complementary feeds from when the patient gets to 6 months be adequate, so that at least it helps to prevent infection. Then vitamin A supplementation also helps to reduce pneumonia and diarrhea. Then we need to prevent children from falling ill from pneumonia and diarrhea. And how do we prevent that? There are vaccines that prevent pneumonia, like BCG, pertussis, measles, Haemophilus influenza type B, pneumococcal vaccine, and for diarrhea, rotavirus is mainly for diarrhea. Then the parents are supposed to wash hands with soap before touching the baby, and safe drinking water and sanitation. Then we need to reduce household air pollution. So for this one is important for pneumonia. Some places we find that people can use firewood for cooking indoors, and they have the children in there. That can increase the risks of pneumonia. Then we have HIV prevention. So we have the PMTCT programs, starting from preconception, during pregnancy, and after delivery, and after delivery, for the mothers and the babies to be protected from HIV infection. So we want to first prevent the mother from acquiring HIV infection. But if it happens that the mother acquires HIV infection, we want to make sure that the baby doesn't get infected. So that those are the programs for HIV prevention. Then we also have cotrimoxazole prophylaxis for those babies that are born to mothers that are positive, and this prevents a lot of infections, especially the pneumonias and even the diarrheas. Then to treat, you need to treat children who are ill with pneumonia and diarrhea. So you can improve care seeking and referrals. So how do you improve care seeking behavior? Educating people in the community, and also we have child health cards that actually explain to the parents when to be concerned, when to have the parents actually having to seek help, and they also help up the parents at home on how to deal with certain conditions like diarrhea. So on the child health card, you will find that there is actually ways to tell mothers how to prepare certain sugar solution. There is to warn mothers on dangers of certain things. So we want to improve care seeking and referrals. Then case management at health facility and community levels. So we need to strengthen our health system and make sure that our management of patients is done well. Then we need to make sure that our supplies are also present of things like zinc, ORS, antibiotics, and oxygen. These are the things that we need from a hospital or clinic perspective to treat whatever condition that the patient is presenting with. If it's diarrhea, they will need to be given zinc supplements for 10 days at least, so that we make sure that they don't get recurrent diarrheas. So zinc is needed to prevent recurrent diarrheas, and also to even the current infection, so that the current diarrheas will end in time. Then there's continued feeding. So when a baby is having diarrhea, you find that some babies will have difficulties with taking oral rehydration solution. So you may need to breastfeed the baby. So breastfeeding, some babies, even when they are refusing ORS and they refusing everything else, they can still continue breastfeeding, and this helps to combat diarrhea. So the mortality of patients that are being breastfed is lower than those of those babies that are not being breastfed, because when the baby is having diarrhea, sometimes they just take breast milk and they refuse all other things. So that's one other thing there.